Jaguar F-Type is just a fantastic overall package. It has the performance to just excite you, excite your passengers. It's a little bit scary, to be honest. This is one of the few new cars on sale that still handles like it's on a bit of a knife edge. The F-Type was always a bit sketchy, but you think adding all-wheel drive would kind of tone it down a little bit? Not the case. This still is, it's got claws. The Jag has claws. And it's a really fun car to drive. But also it has this split personality. It's super comfortable. We've gone 50, 60 miles already today on the highway, just cruising. And most of that time has been with the top down. Wind buffeting is kept to a minimum. Ride quality is excellent. There's not a lot of cabin intrusion or tire noise or anything like that. I'm getting 25 miles to the gallon with this 5-liter supercharged V8, which is kind of unfathomable. I was expecting low 20s or maybe even in the teens, but we're actually getting pretty good fuel economy, at least according to the digital readout. CarPlay seems to be working great. All the tech in here is fine. A couple little weird stutters from the transmission when I'm using the paddles, but for the most part, the ZF 8-speed is pretty flawless, and it just sounds fantastic. Top goes down really quickly too. You can pretty much lower this top at a moment's notice up to speeds of 30 miles per hour, which I think is pretty neat. I appreciate a folding cloth top that folds on the go. Yeah, it just makes for a really fun, enjoyable driving experience. And I think of all the cars here, it probably makes the best noise, seconded only by the Lexus LC500. The thing about the Lexus is it kind of puts comfort and luxury first, and this Jag is a really nice balance of everything. Top marks for this F-Type. I think this is one of the most underappreciated GT cars on the market, and for the price, I'm having trouble thinking of anything else that kind of offers the same formula. Yeah, you could get a 911, but you're probably spending another $50,000 at this point. Get into one of these Jags for about 110,000 bucks, maybe even find a used one for 75 or 60 grand, and you're in pretty good shape. They really haven't changed this F-Type too much over the years. Yes, this has a new front end, it's a little more updated, it's a lot more comfortable, it's a bit quieter, but really it's the same formula. And yeah, I've really liked this car. And it's all-wheel drive. Throw some winter tires on this, drive it year-round, slide around a bit in the snow, have some fun. It truly is a year-round useful convertible. Factor in all things: price, fuel economy, comfort, performance. The 575 horsepower V8, of course, is kind of the centerpiece of this package, but everything else complements it beautifully. And top marks for the Jag. Don't overlook this if you've got about 100 grand to spend on a proper GT car.
This thing, it's so hard to describe. The smile it puts, actually I can describe it. You just put it into second gear, slow down a little. It is just such an absolute blast to be in this thing. Even though the screen you can't see in the sun, and frankly all the controls are kind of dim-witted anyway, one of the best parts about it is when you don't want to be all loud and obnoxious, you can put it into comfort mode and you just relax. It's a nice, comfortable cruiser. I am sitting in acres of lush, plush leather right now, and the steering's light. I feel like I could sit here for hours, but if I get stuck behind an Equinox, I can just put it in dynamic mode, pop down in second gear. Oh, that never gets old.
You might think from the very... Oh, let me turn my music off. You may think from the very brown appearance of this Jaguar that it's for old people, but it just isn't. Some of the noises this thing makes are just out of this world. bangs and pops and snorts and makes all sorts of grunty noises. Apologize if it's very blustery in here. We are now going some miles per hour, so maybe a bit more wind noise. Brownness aside, what I love about this F-Type is just how savage it is in every aspect. It's just ridiculous. You'd think a car in 2022, you'd think that they would no longer be able to produce something like this, but Jaguar still does, and that's what I love about this thing. When this F-Type came out, like, God, it's probably been 10 years at this point, we all thought it was savage then, and it's just as savage now. So what does that tell you about JLR? They still care about enthusiasts, and we love them for that. This 8-speed in this car, you pull the paddles, you use your shifter down here, and the response is absolutely instant. And you get the most satisfying fart. Hold on a second. I'll give you one more. Woo. That is just the most hilarious thing. Sure, the seats aren't the most comfortable thing in the world. They're a little bit hard. The infotainment screen is completely useless. The glare on it makes it mostly unusable most of the time. The climate control knobs feel a little bit weird and are sometimes complicated to figure out how to use. The volume knob, that's in a weird spot, and that's sticky as well. But I don't care about any of that because with that soundtrack, I could forgive mostly anything. There are a couple other oddities in here. The seat switches are on the door, kind of like a Mercedes. And switching from car to car, it's a little bit confusing. I keep finding myself reaching down here, trying to find where the seat switches are, when in fact they are just right here on the door. The vents pop up out of the dash, which you probably can't see that on camera, but I'll go ahead and demonstrate right now. Or I won't because, oh, yep, there they go now. Okay, so they've now folded down into the dash, but you push the knob to then emerge, yes, rise out of the dash. Honestly, I know we've joked about this car being 3 shades of brown, but it kind of works for me. It's a good spec. You've got like the root beer on the outside, saddle on the inside, and the beige roof. All of it comes together to make a beautiful symphony of brown, and it's very appropriate for a Jag. Honestly, I am waiting for us to pull over so I can borrow some items. I borrowed this sweet tea earlier from the gas station, but that's really the extent of the Jagness that I've really been able to indulge myself in. There is something really sinister about all of the JLR cars that have this 5-liter supercharged V8. This car makes almost 600 horsepower, and it delivers its power in such a way you can't help but just laugh. It's so silly and savage. I remember a few years ago there was a commercial on the Super Bowl. I think it was like 2018 or 2019, and it was a Jaguar commercial, and the whole premise is that Jaguars are driven by villains. They're driven by baddies, and this car has made me understand that now. I feel like a Bond villain in this car. I feel like I should be hitting a button to have machine guns rise out of the front fenders, and I feel like I should be shooting at the M4 in front of me, even though it's not an Aston Martin, but I want to do bad things in a normal bad things way in this F-Type. All right, that's going to mostly wrap up my impressions here on the F-Type. Woo! Oh my gosh. Before I let you go, let's do one more of those. God, I love this car. It's going to be so tough for me to pick between this and the LC because they're just such different animals. This is just bovine and ridiculous. But the LC is very sleek and refined and smooth, but also still has a really good V8 soundtrack. It's gonna be tough for me. I'm probably still leaning towards the LC, but this thing is a whole lot of fun.
What about the Jag? Very brown, very loud, very fun, very fun. I'm disappointed that this place to put your elbow is so hard and the stitching is digging into my elbow. It doesn't go very far forward, so I'm finding myself really not having much elbow support. It's kind of hard over here too. I mean, that's what my elbow's on. The seating position is comfortable. You sit very back and low and legs stretched out. I like the shifter. I don't like how there's no way to manually direct your climate control air without going into the screen, because if you're in Apple CarPlay, then you have to click minimum two different buttons, and then 3 for the climate control, 3 different buttons on the screen, and leave your CarPlay screen just to change your fan. I know a lot of people just use auto, but I don't usually like using auto. It's a memorable car, it really is, and while it might not end up being the best grand touring convertible, I could see it being a top choice for someone wanting the most fun third car that sits in the garage, and you take it out on weekends and you blip the throttle and you hear the awesome sounds it makes, and you look cool, and it's I could see that. I would not choose the keys to this one to drive across country. Maybe tomorrow I'll change my mind, I don't know. But it's cool, I like it. Oh, it's starting to brighten up a little bit here too. But yeah, I'm glad it exists. And I am tired. Happy, but tired. Our state is shaped like a mitten, and we will be exploiting that mitten over the next 2 days and 1,000 miles with these 4 excellent luxury Grand Tour. Is the Lexus LC500 the best car money can buy?
It's very powerful. It's a Jag.
Oh, I'm getting pelted. Ah!
It's a BMW. It's a Grand Tourer by definition. Chris, what is this? You were supposed to bring a 911. Well, I think there's only one way to decide which of these cars is the best Grand Tourer, and that would be by Grand Touring.